My third thing, my third longing for 2022 and what I'm bringing in, which is why I'm sharing it, is this idea of choice, almost. Am I looking for the problem or the solution? Because that's a choice. And might feel like it's not at the time if something really awful has happened and we're like, well, that's me, up shit creek without a paddle. And because we don't know what to do about it, we share about the problem, we talk about the problem, we bitch about the problem, we complain about everyone else. It's probably the fault of money quite a lot. Time gets the blame a lot of the time as well. If only I had more time, if only I had more money, if only I had this, then I would be able to solve it. But because I don't have those things, I'm not even going to bother to think outside the box and solve it. So we're very much fixated on the problem. That's that. And the question is, there is always a new choice. There's always a solution. There is a win-win if one is willing enough to pivot and move and at least just move over to the creative side and kind of think about, right, what could I do? If this was it's like good to play those extreme games. If this was your last 24 hours on Earth, you would come up with a solution. If this was life and death and it was to save your mum and dad's life, your daughter's life, your own life, you would come up with a solution. Let's say somebody needed money for surgery or something, you would pull out all the stops. You'd do a crowdfunding, you'd gather people, you'd get online, you'd just pull out all the stops. You would make it happen no matter what. So, and that is the difference between looking for the solution and concentrating on the problem. What are you looking for in each situation? And this is coming from a place of almost, what if things get, quote unquote, worse in 2022? Collective wise, with all the stuff that's going on, all the fear, all the contraction, all the things people are dealing with at the moment. This has come from what happens if that gets worse before it gets better. Not to scare anybody, just as a possibility, because worse is kind of a relative term. What does it mean, worse? That's just comparing it to what? Worse might mean better for some people, and really in the end, things need to, energy-wise, get to a certain point before it all erupts, and then you have the peace and the calm and the learnings and the lessons. So I don't necessarily mean worse as worse. It might just be the perfect trajectory for things to transform and be beautiful. But on the journey there, we might perceive that as things are getting much worse. Does that make sense? And on that journey, do we go, oh my God, and freak out and stay over here in all I can see is the problem, things are just getting worse, what are we going to do? And concentrate on the problem. I still don't have enough money, don't have enough time, what am I going to do about all of these things? Or do we see the solutions and say, actually, I'm going to find a way. I've got it in me to find a solution. I know there's a win-win, and I'm going to find it. I'm going to think outside the box. I can grow my own vegetables. I can save money by carpooling and perhaps share lifts with other people, use the community, use everyone's ideas, come up with a plan. There will always be a a thread that kind of pivots you to, okay, let's get creative, let's do ideas, let's sort this, rather than let's complain about it. So I feel like it's it's another desire of mine to stay in this lane, to stay in that solution-based creative lane and say, this is what it's for. The energy is just shifting us from here to here, and it's making us do that by getting things more extreme. Things will eventually transform as they do. We see that in just energy states. If anyone does any movement work or energy states, it will. The energy will pick up the pace until it gets so manic and crazy and da-da-da-da, and then it explodes. And then there's peace again. And that's just all the energy cycles will be doing. So it might seem like it's picking up the pace and things are getting even more crazy and worse. But if you think of it in terms of it needs to finish the cycle before we get the transformation, then it's not worse, is it? It's exactly where it needs to be going. It's just how do we talk about that? What language am I using to say, oh, this is just part of the cycle, and I'm gonna choose to enjoy it and create whatever I can from this situation. I'm going to use it to connect with people and find solutions. I'm going to use it to find tribe and find my way, rather than say, well, things are getting worse and there's nothing I can do about it. We're just going to sit in a huddle and complain and be effed. That's one perspective. It's very dense, dull, and there's nowhere to go. You're kind of boxed in. That's a prison. That's your own illusioned prison. Whereas this is very open, free, connective. And that's a choice. Just remember that there is a choice and you are choosing wherever you are at. It's okay to choose where you want to be. If you want to be here, complain your heart out until you feel like you're done. That's a choice. You just know I'm choosing to be here where I am. And you'll be able to choose to pivot. To choose to do something new when you want to do something new. That makes sense. The nuance to that is a little bit tricky because what we choose as a collective makes it easier or harder for everyone else to choose. That makes sense. So if the majority are choosing this, it's going to be a lot harder for everyone else to shift. If the majority is choosing this, it's a lot easier for these people to make a different choice. I don't know if that makes sense, but the energy thread is always there. You can move and pivot whenever you're ready. It'll be time.